Oh, hi. This is on. I look like a bearded, rough, fat old man. Got some like windburn here too. Feeling a little self-conscious. Sorry. Look fucking awful today. I don't know what it is. Anyway, screw you, YouTube. Every fucking time I try to do a live fucking video, I'm gonna curse for a little bit. So hide your babies. Every fucking time I do a live fucking video, goddamn fucking YouTube makes me do the fucking video twice, asking me to install the fucking software I got on the fucking computer. Da. Anyway. I feel better. Thank you. I apologize to your friends, families, your children's children. What do I want to talk about? Oh, it's going to be a video of, why did I want to do a video again? I'm self-conscious and I'm annoyed and maybe that's why, because I'm feeling a little annoyed, maybe, I don't know. Anyway, focus. So, got some stuff in the mail, just like 3 things. Visited my friendly neighborhood Red River bookshop. Pardon me, sorry. Couple of things I'm going to be putting on my personal back issue club that I've wanted to read that kind of relate, which I'm kind of interested in. But maybe first, even though I know that I think it's only Dr. Monkeybot that has a couple of these or one of these, or I'm not sure how many. I just kind of want to reiterate on this 2001 Nights. I've finished issue number 3 last night. So far, and a series is like, but so far, issue number 3 was kind of a standalone story that continued from a story in issue number 2. So the idea of 2001 Nights, if you didn't see the hangout that I did with the 7-hour extravaganza hangout that Larassa and I did way back then in the Old West in the 30s. I briefly mentioned it at the end of that hangout, about how impressed I was with just the first issue. Apparently this, and I'm going to butcher the name, so just deal with it. Yukonobo, I didn't bring my glasses. Hoshino. I did bring my glasses. Yukonobo Hoshino. I'm going to go with that. Apparently he wrote this these stories over a number of years, and I'm assuming they appeared in some collection somewhere. I don't remember the details now. I did read about the details at one point, but it's since escaped me. But the thing that I found really fascinating about it, and again, forgive me for those of you where I'm reiterating this, the nuggets of kind of, I guess these are considered more hard sci-fi because it is based on some actual technologies or actual theories or actual science. The nugget of a story that he has in these short stories, each of these short stories could easily be expanded into a longer format story, whatever you wanted to do with them. Each of them are kind of so rich with ideas and characters, and you're really getting a slice of a piece of these people's time. I don't know, I found it really kind of incredible to be able to do that in such a short span of time. It took me a little bit with the first issue, the first story, the first couple of stories. It took me a little bit to figure out, like, what am I reading here? Are these supposed to relate? I guess they relate in so much as they're sci-fi stories and they take place out in space and outer space so far. There is a couple of themes that run through it. There's nothing, so far anyway, what I can tell, there's not one heavy duty theme that's kind of tying everything together. It starts you just kind of in the Earth's atmosphere with two world leaders in a meeting in space to kind of look down at the planet Earth and decide, listen, this is a great place for us to meet because here we can see what it is that we're, to kind of take us out of this moment on Earth. Let's meet in outer space surreptitiously, and we can stare at the Earth and go, listen, the shit that we're dealing with, is it really that important looking at the Earth from out here? Is it really amount to anything, and wanting to kind of have a fresh start? So that's kind of it's a good lead off, because by issue 3, now we're really far out of the galaxy, or out of our known galaxy, or what I think of as our known galaxy. Again, I'm not a hardcore science guy, so I don't know some of the theories, or a lot of the theories that some of this is based on. I don't know, and looking back on it now that I've read the 3 issues, I think it's a brilliant way to start it. It's a really nice casual lead into, like, forget about this shit on Earth for a moment. Let's kind of start taking you out, and let's start looking at things differently. Let's start looking at ideas. Let's start kind of putting things into a little bit of a context. There was a couple of stories, especially in that first issue, that really hit me. One with a father talking about his kind of life, but then I don't want to spoil too much of it because it really spoils the kind of nugget of it. It just reaches this moment, so there's a disaster that he's trying to deal with, and how he deals with it and what he chooses to. It really just hit me, you know what I mean? Really, really. And again, it's a short story. You're not getting a lot of character development. You're just kind of thrown into, here's our next situation. You know what I mean? I'm really impressed with it. I have to say, hats off to you, Dr. Monkeybot, Adam, for taking a chance on this and showing it off in a video. And again, as we've all talked about a million times before, one of the beautiful things about doing all this stuff, and now I'm starting to relax. Now I'm remembering why I wanted to do this video. One of the beautiful things about the stuff that we do here and the things that we talk about is exactly that. Somebody somewhere shows off some books, talks a little bit about them, even if they don't know anything, shows a little bit of the art, and it sparks, it hits you, and then you find it and you give it a shot. You know what I mean? Especially when it comes to all the back issues. It's just such an overwhelming amount of stuff that's out there. It's nice to get little nuggets that you can kind of, oh, that looks kind of interesting. Maybe I'll look for it, and find it in a 50-cent bin and give it a chance. And all of a sudden you're hit with a story like this. Granted, these weren't the 50-cent bins, but you're hit with something like this that's pretty goddamn impressive. So yeah, I mean, way to go, YouTube. You got something going for you, even though I cursed you out at the beginning of the video. I guess you're all right. So moving from that, the other thing I wanted to mention is Paulo Costa. My apologies, Paulo. I didn't finish watching your most recent video. He just did like a 25, 30-minute video talking about espers. Not ESPers, as I was saying, espers. As ridiculous as that sounds to me. Yeah, there you go, Puma Blues. That's so funny you mentioned that, J-Rox. Hello, by the way. How are you? I was just looking at that book because I'm realizing that, holy shit, oh, it's right here. I didn't finish it. I'm about halfway through it. And that is thanks to Johnny Zero, who was kind enough to send that to me. So again, it's all this kind of, it all is circular, man. It's it's all just energy, bro. Paulo Costa did a video talking about Hudnall and espers and other things. I got to catch a little bit of it live, but it was right at the moment trying to get the kids settled for finishing off dinner and stuff like that. So I didn't have a chance, and I just haven't had a chance yet to go back and watch it, but I would recommend everybody watch it. He showed a Kingpin book, a paperback, and that cover of that Kingpin book is etched in my mind. I remember seeing that. I might have even had it, or maybe actually, you know what? I probably didn't have it. My brother had it. I'm sure of it now that I'm thinking about it. And I wonder if it's something that, because he has a bunch of stuff he stored here, and there are some paperbacks somewhere. I'm wondering if it's in with those paperbacks, or it might have been in a box that went away. Anyway, that cover is etched in my memory. I never did read it, but now I'd like to have a read of it. So check out Paulo's video. Facebook. I'm in a couple of groups now, 3 groups in Facebook. Comic related. I just finished selling some more. The art grabbed me. It reminded me of the Mirage Comics Ninja Turtle. Yeah, I mean, it definitely has that kind of indie feel. It's of that time for sure. Yeah, absolutely, J-Rocks. In these Facebook groups, I've been also selling comics as well. I just actually had a bunch of stuff up that was kind of my underground comics. I thought I'd, it's a new format. It's a new group of people. This was, I think it was I'm sorry, excuse me. I'm having a real bad indigestion today. I think it was the Comics Auctions Canada page, I believe. So I figured a bit of a bigger audience. Let's give them a shot. I had a couple of bites. 3 different people ordered or bought some books. I think I got rid of 7 comics, something like that, which is good. I mean, it gives me some more money in my PayPal account. I'm trying to build the PayPal account as much as I can. I'm trying to really, the problem is every time I get some money in PayPal, I start browsing eBay and looking at various sites and things. And, oh, I wouldn't mind that. And, oh, maybe I can get this record. And it's like, I'm trying to really tell myself to hold on to that PayPal money. I really want that PayPal fund to grow because I'd like to eventually, I don't quite know. I mean, I have an idea that I'd like to order some big books. I have an idea. Maybe I can use it for, I don't know what, you know what I mean? It's always seems to be nice to have PayPal money. What I have been doing is selling stuff, getting some PayPal money, buying a couple of books on Facebook. So these 3 are from a Facebook auction. It's funny because one of them I really wanted because it was a book that I had as a kid, one of the comics that I had as a kid that really stuck with me. The cover really stuck with me, especially. And then, wouldn't you know it, like 3 days later, I went out and I saw 2 copies in one shop. Granted, this one that I received in the mail is in better shape than the ones that I saw, but it's always that way, right? Which always makes me a little hesitant of buying stuff online, especially places like eBay. Even though I do, it's not like I'm against it. I have bought stuff off eBay before. When it comes to underground comics, that was my big thing that I was buying because you're just not seeing those around. But other books, especially as I'm nearing the end of the Daredevil run and stuff, I keep eyeballing those books, the ones that are a little pricier. So in the back of my head, I have an idea that, I save up all this PayPal money and then I can buy a big Daredevil book off of eBay. But it's also one of these things, now that I know more guys in town, my chances of getting all that stuff locally is even better. So I'm trying to sit on this money that's in the account. I'm trying to. I don't know if I'm going to be successful, but I'm trying to. I think it's sitting at right now, I think it's at about $70 or $60 right now, Canadian. So I want to let that build. So the 3 books that I did get, though, and the other thing I'm noticing is when I have bid on these little auctions, if you go with kind of 3 books, they can send them by letter mail. These books that I got in the mail today, they cost like $4 to ship them within Canada. It got here in about 5-6 days. They were packaged really well. Everything that I've had on Facebook has been packaged really well, sandwiched in between some pretty serious cardboard. Put into just a mailer, just like a manila envelope kind of thing, but nothing has come with any concerns whatsoever. And the fact that once you get bigger than 3 books, when I went to ship books today, actually, I saw kind of their process. They've just got this little template and it has this kind of slot that's kind of a mail slot. If it can slide through the slot, you can send it as letter mail. If it's bigger than the slot, you got to send it as a small package. So the ones that I sent today, I was able to send them by letter mail. So $4 shipping for 3 books. The books were pretty cheap. I still think it's a deal. I still think I did pretty well. And that's kind of how I'm trying to look at it. If I'm going to go for it, I'm going to try not to, all of a sudden have to pay $40 shipping because I bought a stack of $1 books. All of a sudden the books aren't $1 anymore, right? So but I've been successful. The first one I'll just get out of the way because I have more to say about the other books than this one. One more off the Daredevil list. So number 132. So I have 132, issue 132 all the way to 300. I'm missing issue 131. And then I think that might be the only one that's in the 100s. The rest are before that. So 20 issues left to have the first 300. So I'm pretty excited about that. It's every time I get even just one book, it just reminds me that, holy shit, this is actually obtainable. It's an actual attainable goal that may happen this year. A little bit of DC stuff I've been getting into lately. You've been watching my videos, stuff like this. I think I showed this last time. Secrets of Haunted House with still, I sit and just stare at this cover. It's incredible. The art is incredible. That hand coming through there is fucking amazing. The precise amount of wear and tear to the book is, I mean, you couldn't recreate this shit. It's beautiful. Anyway, so stuff like that is really getting a hold on me. I'm trying to contain myself because I did just spend a lot of time getting rid of a ton of books. I don't want to now just all of a sudden bring in another 600 books in the span of a month when it took me like 6 months to get rid of 600 books. But there is a couple of things, and this is one of the issues. I keep seeing Unexpected and finding I want to pick them up, and they've been really cheap. So I picked this one up, and I had this one as a kid. There's another Unexpected, which I do plan to get, so I'll save that story for, well, it's not much of a story. I'll save talking about that issue when I actually get it. But this was the other one that is just etched in my memory, this cover. I had this issue as a kid, and it really just sticks with me. And I was pleasantly surprised to say that see that it's a Kaluta cover as well, who I have grown to really like as an artist. So even at that early age, there was something about his style, even though I wouldn't say this is typical Kaluta style. There's something about it, but there's something about that pose, that Grim Reaper holding him over a pit down in hell. I just remember looking at this cover, just fascinated by this image. It was just so badass. You know, listening to my thrash music and checking out Unexpected. And the thing that kind of also resonates with me with these comics is, you know, there are names like Vince Colletta, for example, is listed in this one. But in a lot of these horror books, you're seeing names that, for me anyway, because my memory of names isn't always the best, especially when it comes to keeping track of artists and writers, it's not always the best. Do I know that name? Don't I know that name? There's a lot of names that I don't recognize, which I love. So it really feels like it's a whole world that existed where these kind of relatively unknown, this image is burned in my memory too. As soon as I opened the page and saw this, it instantly resonated with me. And there's very few comics I can say that I have very clear memories of from childhood, but this one really stands by. There's a lot of names that I feel like they're out there to be discovered. This is one. So story by George Cashton and art by C. Nichols and Vince Colletta. This is great. Look at this. Again, right in my wheelhouse of weird Ditko, blobby, outer spacey, sci-fi type of looking. Those colors are really nice and vivid. I really like them. That looks great. I've just kind of had a chance to sit down now. So I haven't had a chance. Check out those guys. I haven't had a chance to kind of do any research on any of these artists yet. But that's what I'm planning to do if I have time tonight. The other thing that kind of clicked with me today too, when I was looking through these, was almost it's even a step in the direction of bridging the gap for me with my love of underground comics and their kind of progression into the more mainstream. All About Comics. How are you doing? And some of this horror stuff, when I look at it, it does have a little bit of that underground flavor to me. Again, just visually. I'm not talking story-wise yet because I haven't sat and read these yet. But there's a bit of a roughness to some of it. Stuff like this, for example, this art in this particular story really caught my attention too. Like, look at this perspective and the water banks and the texture on that grass. And, you know, there's a real underground flavor to some of this that really appeals to me. So I think, yeah, like faces like this, you know, it's not your typical superhero fare, right? Which I know that it's not going to be picking up these books, but there's a real character to some of this. So I think I'm going to be looking for more of, as far as maybe focusing on, you know, because I feel like I've tried out a bunch of different horror titles, and there's some that I want to get for sure. Challenge of the Unknown I'd like to keep up with. I'd like to try to get more of. Unexpected is going to be right up there for me. So the artist in this story I was just showing you, writers were Bill Kelly and Glenn Lovell, or Lavelle. Artists Pat Broderick and Kim DeMulder, Demulder, and then the colorist Jerry Serpe, Serpe. Again, let's just show that page. Great stuff. And that cover is just stellar as well too. It's just ridiculous. You know, it really, if it didn't have that DC logo, if it had kitchen sink on the top there, I'd have it. You know what I mean? I'd be all over it. So just because it has a DC logo, what the hell does that matter? So I think Unexpected is going to be a book that I focus on. So that's it for what I got in the mail. I did take a walk. It was a relatively busy-ish kind of day. And I realized I'd been in the office for a long time and hadn't really gone for lunch. So I went for a walk just because I'm still trying to make sure I stay on top of this sciatica pain and get out and get enough exercise throughout the day. I walked and I happened to find myself walking down to Red River Bookshop, and I had a quick look around in there and picked up a small stack of stuff. Yes, Damien, how's it going? Alligator Man, indeed. It's stellar. It's a stellar cover. I love it. The feet are a little... Feet, you know, feet and hands, man. That shit's hard to draw. So I had a look in Red River Bookshop, and when I came in, Dennis was nice enough to say, so you may want to look through this box here, because I think you've pretty much looked through everything else in the store. And I just kind of laughed and I said, well, if you're drawing my attention to a comic box, I should really have a look in it then, because you know what I've seen. There wasn't actually anything in the box, but I thought it was kind of funny that, you know, because he said that to me last time. He's like, I don't know if you're gonna, when I traded stuff in, he's like, are you, like, you've been here so much? I'm like, Dennis, I find something here all the time because I'm always looking for something different. When I come in there, I usually have a focus of stuff I'm looking for, and then I end up browsing and finding other stuff. So this time I came because I'd never really looked for any horror titles on his main floor. So I went looking for more Unexpected. I thought he may have some more of the 60 cent kind of era of Unexpected. Not a single one to be found. I was surprised. Not a one, because I thought if anything, they'd be pretty cheap there. But of course, I did end up looking through some of the other bins and did find a stack of stuff that he gave me a really good deal on. I don't have much to say about this first one, other than it's on the front cover. It says Korea's #1 comic, and it was like $1. So how the hell can you say no? And it's called Untouchables from Eastern Comics. There you go. Korea's #1 comic. It's a guy with furs, bats, and a tiger behind him. That's a killer cover. It was the only one they had, unfortunately. Then they had another series called Untouchables. I think it might have been a DC. I haven't. All About Comics. I haven't read Die Kitty Die. I do know it though. I do know the book, but I haven't read it. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it was so cheap, and that was just such a badass cover that I got it. The interiors look pretty good, you know. The usual, nothing surprising, kind of manga-ish. A little bit of extra odd looks to some of the facial features and stuff. But, you know, what the hell? When it's that cheap and that cover is so badass, and it's Korea's #1 comic. I don't know if I said that. #1 in Korea. They wouldn't just put that on any old comic. That's gotta be legit. Another series that I get when I find it for cheap. This is Whisper issue #1 from Capital Comics, and I'm not quite sure. I have issue #2. I'm wondering if it's just different volumes, but that's it. First Comics, so I don't quite know the transition with some of these. With some of these series, they transitioned from company to company so quickly sometimes, or had short runs at one company and kind of continued at the other. It's sort of hard to keep track. I've been really good though, surprisingly. I'm patting myself on the back here. I've been good at updating my CLZ app with stuff like this. I'm not always so good at it when I come to more kind of mainstream stuff or whatever, but when it comes to these weird ones, I really try to keep up with them because I can never remember which ones. I think I have about 5 or 6 issues of this now. So now that I have #1 and I think #2, 3, and 4, I can actually kind of read a bunch in a row. And then as usual, it's just great to check out the ads in these old things. Nexus Portfolio. Steve Rude there, Damien. You ever read Border Worlds? I just bought the hardcover. I can't say that I have, or have I? I'd have to see. The name does sound familiar to me, but I'm not sure. There it talks about issue #2 in here, so at least then I can find out if it's in sync. I guess I can always look it up too. Look at that layout. And you know, then I flip through a book and see our main character trying to drown a guy in a tub. Pretty great. Nice Nexus portfolio. I guess I need that. I guess you're probably right. Yeah, more than likely. I don't know if you can see what it says down there, Damien. It's all backwards, and I just don't have the energy to try to read backwards. But I guess you can see that. Anyway. Yeah, and again, this was Capital Comics there, Damien. So, and I want to say that they got bought up by First Comics, since this is a title that then appeared in First Comics. But, you know, even stuff like this, again, it's a pleasure looking through this kind of indie 80s stuff. It's just kind of just go for it, you know. Let's just go for it. Let's just color everything up. Greens and pinks and reds, and I mean, check out those layers. Screw you, Watchmen. There you go. Take that. Yeah, so this might be a fun one. Who knows? Or it might just be trashy, but that doesn't mean it won't be fun. I love 80s independent comics and epic comic stuff. Well, then stick around, Clune Trooper. It's great to collect, and most of it can be got for a great price. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, it's always entertaining to kind of read and browse through, and it is most of the time pretty damn cheap. I found another issue of Mystery Quarterly from DC. This is #5, autumn 1991. So now I have issue 1 and issue 5. Issue 1 was pretty good. I don't know if I talked about it, or maybe I did in the chat with Larasa. Hey, special person, how you doing? But I liked it. I mean, it's one of those things that I imagine after a chunk of time, it was right back to mystery goodness, right? Which is what we're all here for. And even just, I haven't looked through this yet, so even just the first opening to the very first page, I can see, yeah, exactly. It's exactly what I want out of a mystery comic. she's beating the hell out of some guy and grabbing him by his nuts. So there you go. Yeah, it's great. She's just so great. There you go. Beating the hell out of people at a protest, firing a gun in the air, you know. She's just the best. Yeah. So I'll have to wait for this one though, because I want to get the other ones before I dig into that. So speaking of Max Allan Collins and Terry Beattie, surprise, surprise, I found the entire mini-series of This Is Wild Dog. If anybody's reading the new Cave Carson, he makes an appearance in that as well. And again, this is a comic I do remember from when I was a kid. I'm looking on the backs of these as I'm kind of taking them out of the bags and stuff and seeing ads for Millennium is coming and that DC event. But this wouldn't have appealed to me at the time in the slightest. And looking through it, it's incredibly right up my alley right now, especially with my love of all things mystery. It's just a different character, same creative team, same kind of style of art. There's going to be violence. There's going to be shit blowing up. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to this one. And I wouldn't have picked it up if they hadn't, if they didn't have all of the issues, but they had the entire 4-part miniseries. So I figured, what the hell? Let's just go for it. I think 64-page Special had mentioned this once in a video too, so I have a feeling he maybe, I don't know if fan or him, but he did mention it. Let's just say that. There you go. More guys getting kicked in the balls. What can you do? Jackio, I finally remember getting Wild Dog. Right on, man. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to that one. So that's issue 2, issue number 3, and issue number 4. There you go. Yeah, there's the little Millennium is coming. Yeah. So great. His style is just so great. Part 3, part 4. Yes, that is it. That is part 4. And the last video where I was talking about these horror comics, I did mention a love for all things that take place in a snowy winter wonderland. So this one issue of Ghosts was there that had this cover. And again, it was cheap. So I figured I'd give it a shot. Really to say about it. Unless there was, I did look through this one too. Is this the one? No. Maybe a little. Again, not seeing any names here. Oh, here we go. Art Rico Rival, which is a name that I have come across a number of times now as a name that stands out as somebody that I like his art style. So this will be good. But again, the sloppiness of some of this is really, it's really borderline as far as bridging that gap. So that'll be cool. And then Clune Trooper, you were talking about Epic Comics. Whenever I find an Epic Comics series, well, maybe not whenever, but I do try to pick up Epic Comics when I do see them. They don't show up a ton. I end up seeing the same Epic Comics series over and over again. I found a couple of things today that I haven't seen before out in the wild, or maybe just haven't been in tune with. Like I say, when I go to Red River, sometimes I get in zones of stuff I'm looking for, so I might have passed by these, or I must have passed by them at one point. And I just saw this on eBay. Actually, there was a lot and buying it, but I didn't, and that was great because that was literally last night, because I found him in person. Video Jack from Epic Comics. Giffen, yeah, Bates. So creator, plot, script, Carrie Bates. Inker, Dave Hunt. Creator, plot, and pencils, Keith Giffen. Now, was Keith Giffen, did he do Ambush Bug as well? Because this just screams Ambush Bug to me. I was a big fan of Ambush Bug growing up. I really liked, I don't have those comics. They left my collection many, 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 many years ago. Looking back through this, I do mildly regret it, but they did a lot of panel layouts like this in Ambush Bug, especially with a lot of close-ups and things. But again, I'm good with names. So I don't know anything about this series. Purely bought it because it's Epic Comics. And it is a line that I do want to collect more of. Because you kind of never know what you're going to get with them. And then opening up to this page. Look at that shit. That's amazing. So great. There's your spread. There's your page spread. 2-page spread. Suck it. It's awesome. So that'll be interesting. I got issue 1, issue 2. Kind of an interesting cover there. Issue 3. With some Elektra ads on the back. That was the other thing with these two. Oh, yeah. That was the other thing with these two, having these nice ads on the back. So an advertisement for that Epic kind of magazine-sized Mobius collection stuff. Focus. Somewhere in there, maybe? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, so that's, again, something I love about flipping through these old ones. Martial Law and Alien Legion. And Alien Legion I actually do have. I read a couple of issues of it and just didn't finish it. So that'll be something I'll revisit as well. Martial Law, I don't have all of it yet. But I do want to get the rest of that. Kevin O'Neill, goodness. Something called Someplace Strange. Graphic novel. Anne Nocenti and John Bolton. Coming in 1987. So yeah, I mean, these layouts are great. Love it. Anyway, focus. Issue 1, issue 2, issue 3, issue 4, issue 5. With a Akira ad on the back, a badass Akira ad. And finally, 6 with a bunch of special guests. And again, another name that just keeps popping up for me. Trina Robbins is one of the guests in this. And just kind of flipping through it. The Inkle on the back there, Inkle 2. The Inkal. Just flipping through it. Each artist just gets a little segment. Let's go to the... Yeah, it just screams Ambush Bug to me, though, this stuff. There you go. Some Trina there. There's always new Epic mags to discover. It's kind of crazy. It really is crazy, isn't it? Like, you think that you've seen all the Epic stuff, and there's more that's out there that just jumps out at you. And again, it's just being in tune with it at the time, right? Probably seen some of this stuff a million times, but passed right over it because it wasn't what I was focused on. It wasn't what I was looking for, you know? This is your life or death. So that's that. And then finally, there was so much going on in the 80s. Yeah, there really was. Yeah, and I mean, when I was getting comics in the 80s, or it probably would have been late 80s when I was collecting more. Pardon me. I'm sorry, everybody. Really, just indigestion is killing me. I try to remember what it was like going into a comic shop, and it's just, you know, again, you're just into so much different things at the time that it makes you wonder what the hell I was passing up at the time. Well, doesn't make me wonder too much because I'm getting them. I'm seeing what I was passing. I love those flat saturated colors. I agree. There's something about the printing on this stuff. So then I got this. They only had 2 issues. Void Indigo. I was looking inside. This is book 2. I only got 2 issues. That's all that they had. I know nothing about this one. And talk about flat. This one is a mess. But holy shit, do I like it. It has kind of a Veitch kind of vibe to it, a Rick Veitch kind of vibe. With that just, it is not polished art. And again, if I think back to the comic crack, lowercase comic crack as a little young child, this wouldn't have appealed to me. Even being into underground comics and stuff like I was getting into, this stuff wouldn't have appealed to me at all. I see this now and I get kind of excited because it's just so rough and dirty and unpolished and just looks fucking brutal, right? All that innovation has been boiled down in the collective memory to just a few books like Swamp Thing and Dark Knight. Yeah, some stuff that just really jumps out and everything else is kind of lost to the 50-cent bins, right? Which is also the good thing about Back Issue Club, trying to appreciate everything that was there. Thomas Churchill, hi, how are you doing? Thanks for joining us. Yeah, Rick Veitch all over this, though. It really looks like. I don't think I said it, actually. So the writer is Steve Gerber. The artist is Val Mayerick, Mayerik. Letterer is Carrie McCarthy. So, book 2. That's odd. So in here it says book 2, part 1, but down here it says volume 1, number 1. So I don't know what the hell that's about. Show you a couple more pages. But it really just feels like wall-to-wall art in this book. Yeah, it almost has a little bit of these games that I'm into now, this and Freak Face and all that kind of stuff. All those, all the Nate Hayden games. It has kind of a feel of that, or the TSR comic games that I have. It's just art that has to be there to kind of put. Well, in Cave Evil's side, it's not that. Maybe in the TSR side, it's a little more like that. They just want to create a comic book so they can sell a game. So they just have whatever art because the point is to kind of sell a game because they were a gaming company. This is kind of what that feels like trying to sell something different. Yeah, maybe Void Indigo came from a different publisher. It's totally possible. Like we were saying already, that's completely possible. I know that I've seen the title before, Damien. And I honestly, when I really think back at it, I don't remember it saying Epic Comics on the ones that I've seen, but I could be wrong about that. Yeah, for example, this is one that I see fairly often, Black Dragon, and it just doesn't appeal to me. But again, because it's Epic, I'm sure it'll be in the collection soon enough, and I'll be giving it a shot because I don't know. I'll be giving it a shot. And then issue number 2. So this is from March 1985. Is that what that says? Yeah, 85. Hell of a cover there. Angel stabbed through the chest, an eyeball in the background, and I guess our main character being ridden with a cross down in the ground. Like, what the hell? Sort of the Swashbucklers. It's another one that I've seen once or twice. I might even have one issue of it in the old bins. And then, of course, can't go wrong with Starstruck or Boobies, but Starstruck specifically. I wonder if I saw Void Indigo in an anthology at some point. Sounds really familiar. Yeah, could be. Let's see. I'll just show you. Yeah, and these are even Some of this art is even rougher. I don't know. It's, yeah, something about it though. Should revisit Boss Chronicles for the Back Issue Club. Man, that was such a good read. I really enjoyed Boss Chronicles quite a bit. It wouldn't be bad to revisit. I know that there is a collection of it as well. It is a collection I'd like to get. But that's not a bad idea. It wouldn't be bad to reread that sucker. It had a good feel to it. For that sake, I've actually, or on that kind of thought, I've actually been thinking of Moonshadow a fair bit the past couple of days. It's popped into my head a couple of times, and I kind of miss, you know, it's something to, again, kind of what I was talking about at the beginning with 2001 Nights, this ability to create these characters in a short story or just in a comic in general and give it life and get a feel for a world that I found myself missing Moonshadow. Just kind of thinking about it fondly, you know what I mean? Like any good story, right? And that's kind of one of the things that's so appealing about this stuff, as I'm sure we all know. Like there's the instant gratification of shit like this, seeing this crazy art and wondering what the hell is going on and that discovery aspect of it. But when you get something that sits with you, it's extra special. And Moonshadow was just I felt it was a really beautiful story. It really worked for me. And Boz was the same way. I really enjoyed that. The collection, I don't know if the collection of Boz Chronicles has anything different, but it is something I'm keeping my mind and my eyes out for, because I'd like to just keep the singles, but also have the Boss Chronicles collected. Moonshadow is one I'd like to get a hold of again. Yeah, I'd highly recommend. There was the DC version or Vertigo version as well too, but it's really worth it. It's just a nice story. And again, I just finished reading the first Winnie the Pooh with my daughter, the first Winnie the Pooh book. I read it with my son. It was read to me as a kid. Reading it now as an adult, and I said it back when I read it with my son as well, there's something incredible about reading those words and the way that he forms a sentence, the way that he structures a paragraph, the way that he uses capital letters for a special place and that sort of thing. Like, there's something about the flow of that dialogue and the feel of that world that's just so beautiful. And Moonshadow kind of has that to it, where it's almost this childlike, even though they're dealing with very adult concepts and things, there's this really fairy tale childlike atmosphere to it, where the way that the words are written and the way that you speak them internally just has a nice feel for it. You know, once upon a time, blah, 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 blah. Reading the Winnie the Pooh stuff with Lillian was just fantastic. I laughed more than she did. She really enjoyed it. She was having a great time with it, and she would want to look ahead to see what story we were reading next and look at the pictures, look at the pictures and stuff. But there was just some, I wish I would have brought it down, because there was one passage in particular. They're going on an expedition, but all the characters keep calling it an expedition for the North Pole. And it's just a long train of them going. So it's all these characters, and Eeyore is having a little bit of a moment because he wants to be right at the very back. But Rabbit's friends and relations are behind him, and he wants to be at the back in case he has to take a rest. He doesn't want to be sitting on Rabbit's. And at one point, people are arguing, and Christopher Robin at the front of the line shushes the person behind him, and it goes all the way down the line till it reaches the end of the line, and it's one of the smallest of Rabbit's friends and relations, who is shocked that now all of a sudden the entire expedition is shushing him. So he turns around and buries his head in the ground and stays there for 2 days, and is so distraught that by the end of it, he runs home, and his name was whatever, and he gives him a name. But just this little kind of moment of a story where it kind of just trails off into, let's just check out what this guy's deal is. And it's great, because it's kind of, when I listen to my daughter speak, that's very much what it is, right? It's very much, I've got a couple of things, but I'm going to start talking about a million other things, where it's like, Lil, the hell are you talking about? So it really works. And to hear those words out loud, it's just so funny, and it's so touching. But So we started reading Wind in the Willows. I'm now on a full-on tangent. We read chapter 1 of Wind in the Willows, a book that my dad, again, read to us. He bought a copy. I think this one has 1984 on the inside. It's a British edition of it. A really nice kind of hardback, but that kind of softer hard thing. It's in really good shape, and he gave it to my son and kind of wrote in it for him. So me and my son had read it, and again, now it may be a little too old for Lillian. She was into it. She was kind of playing, and there was actually a moment where she wasn't paying attention, and I got a little frustrated. But then she just she just did something, and it just reminded me of being in her position and listening to my dad read these stories and getting distracted. But I wasn't getting distracted because I wasn't enjoying the moment, because I really enjoyed those moments. I was just distracted because I was a kid and I was a little bored, so I started playing with my toes or whatever I was doing. So she started doing that, and I just burst out laughing because of that kind of realization of that transition, now that I'm the one reading the story, and that kind of that relating to what it was like as a child. I know this is all mushy and off topic here, but it was just really, it was a good experience. So I think I'm going to try to keep reading it with her. We probably won't read that one every night, because I don't know if she has the patience for it every night. A chapter once a week, see how that goes. Because I would like to read it with her. There's going to be some stuff, because I do know the story. I know that there's going to be some stuff that'll maybe catch her attention. The first chapter was very, Mole has just come out of his house and met the water rat, and we've met Badger, and talked about Mr. Toad, and I know what's coming. So I'm hoping that it'll be something. But again, it has these great illustration plates in it, double-sided, full color. Probably one per chapter, I want to say, and then a couple of kind of spot illustrations, kind of like in Winnie the Pooh. So after we finished reading it, she just sat for another 10 minutes and flipped through the book and wanted to check out the pictures and was asking me questions about stuff. So that in itself was fun. Forget about if she was listening to the chapter or not. It was kind of nice to just have a nice bit of chill out time together and just look through a book. And it was the same with my son too. His kind of fascination age was just nice. He still loves video games. He still watches TV, that sort of stuff. But he does still have that connection with books, and I can see it in Lillian as well too. She still is going to be just a regular kid and want to watch crappy TV shows. But she does have this fascination with reading and with books, and I love it. It's nice to be able to do those things together. So that was my thoughts on Boz Chronicles and Moonshadow, apparently. So that was about it that I had, I think. I talked about 2001 Nights. There was nothing else really to show you. Yeah, I think that was about it, really. There's a little convention coming up on Sunday, a new one. This guy, Vince, who I sold comics to not too long ago, actually, he's putting it on for the school that he works at. And they're going to have actually like a day there too. I couldn't work it out to kind of have a table there, but I'm going to go visit. I'm going to try to go visit on Sunday. I don't know if I'm 100% going to be able to. But that'll be interesting just to see a different market. And just to kind of do a little bit of digging for some of this other stuff. I don't know where that thread was going to. I looked over here, and then I had a thread of something, and I started talking, and it was gone. A couple of little cons coming up, I think, was the gist of it. That one, and then the one that I'm selling at is late March, near the end of March, which will be great. So again, I'm hoping to kind of get some of the stuff out of here that I don't want and be able to focus a little bit more on some new things. Pardon me, and finishing things up. Great point about Moonshadow's link to children's lit. I learned to love picture books and heavily illustrated books when QD was younger. I felt disappointed when we hit books without pictures. Yeah, I can totally see that. It does help, especially when it comes to kind of keeping their attention. It really does kind of help that they have something to look at. And because I can see her kind of attention when she just sees every, sometimes she'll be listening and looking the other way, but I know she's sitting there, and she'll turn around every once in a while when she hears me turn a page to see if there's any pictures. And again, exact same thing I used to do as a kid. When I was listening, and I was loving it, and I was enjoying the moment. So I'm just trying to keep that in mind when I read these, that she's still listening. And even if she's not, I'm getting to read a story. You know what I mean? I'm getting to read a book and experience it again at a different age. So yeah, I think that's it, everybody. Thank you very much, J-Rocks, for reminding me about Puma Blues, by the way. Did you ever read it? Or did you just get it recently? I think I remember you telling me about it before. Have you tried letting her draw while you read? I haven't actually, Damien. That's not a bad idea, to see what she comes up with. That would be kind of interesting. See what kind of art is inspired by reading these stories. We usually do it lying down in bed, but I could set it up. There's no reason I can't set it up in the bed. Our bed is big enough for the little squirt to kind of have something to draw. Yeah, now I'm just looking for things to talk. So why don't we say goodnight? Thank you very much for joining me, everybody. I really do appreciate it. It's always nice to talk to people. It's always nice to share stuff on YouTube. Again, J-Rocks, I got it about 2 weeks ago, but haven't read it yet. Okay. I'm curious to hear what you think about it. I'm going to kind of try to dive into it again. It is sitting right here. I can see it. There's just a bunch of shit stacked on top of it that I don't want to deal with. But I do see it. So I do. It's a good reminder to get back into it. I'm glad you caught me live too there, Damien. It's good. Always good to talk to you. Yeah, so enjoy the world of comedy, YouTube, and you know, next time you're at a shop doing some back issues hunting, just look for something that you haven't read before, or you don't know anything about, something that's a buck, and just pull it out of there if it looks interesting and give it a shot. Thomas Churchill, good night. Thanks very much, everybody. We'll talk to you.